I think normal girls who's like they send out a message saying, "Hey, I want to come on." They don't participate in OnlyFans, sex work.
Yeah.
Because people who participate in OnlyFans and sex work, they're already under like extreme public scrutiny.
Correct.
Like,
thick skin.
like you're known as
Yes.
like, okay,
Yeah.
like you're used to criticism.
It
You're
doesn't
used
matter,
to people
yeah.
saying like, okay, you're a terrible person.
It's a
You
nervous
have no
system
value.
thing.
Yeah.
Blah 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 blah.
But a normal girl.
But a normal
Even,
girl,
like-
like if they come on the show, it's like, I don't know if I want to
What
like
if somebody-
So it's like an hour before the show. It's like, oh, this is real.
Their nerves
Like,
start getting.
I
Yeah.
gotta like, what are the arguments I bring across? Like
Can I-
these people know, like, kind of know what they're
A lot
talking
of the
about.
people that we do
And the
get,
goofy
like the
trolls.
quote unquote normal girls that we get, I feel that are just kind of scared to come on because they'll just like look up the channel and be like, oh, they have a lot of followers.
It
Like,
will
Yeah.
tell us going
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
internet.
internet, whatever I say is like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's the same
Yeah.
with guys as well.
yeah. Can I
Like,
say
it's hard to
something
find
to your
guys.
point though about what you were
Yeah.
just saying, like that just goes to show like sex workers have an extremely strong nervous system, and it's like I feel like we know how to receive a lot of energy,
Criticism, too.
whatever it is. It's like we know how to receive and metabolize, and that's one of the gifts of being a sex worker is that we're intrinsically alchemists. Like we know how to practice alchemy.
We're forced to.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
forced
Yeah,
to.
so-
We're forced
It's
to.
high,
and
high
a lot
levels
of
of
people.
cortisol.
So just to your point, high levels. I literally
And,
talked
and
about this in here.
disassociation is one of my
Yes.
best gifts that I got to
Me
work
too.
in the industry because that's the best thing that
But-
being an actress.
But what I will say is also to what she was saying earlier, doctors, lawyers, all of these people who have high performing jobs also have to have extremely regulated and strong nervous systems in order to show up.
Selena Gomez donated $100. I completely understand. Right. Still love the show. Just giving you guff and
Sorry
still
that
love
it's
the
doing
show.
this. I'm
I
not
live
sure
closer
why
to
it's,
you. I'd 1000% volunteer. I'd 1000% volunteer. But I'm unfortunately in the Midwest. Oh.
Selena, no, it's all good. I mean, don't worry about it. Appreciate your support. Sorry that the TTS is still bugged. I'm not sure what the frick is going on with that. I need to fix it. I'm not sure why, but
Yeah.
here, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Your point was. Sorry, I'm trying to.
So my
summarize in
point is
Yeah,
that
yeah.
we're able to leave. So what I've realized transitioning,
Ooh,
and
yes,
maybe you
okay.
could speak to this too. Sex work was such a blessing for me because it's taught me how to even run the business that I do right now, which I'm responsible for hundreds of women. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's taught me how to legit sustain a business, how to sell. It's taught me how to sell. Like when I went into my coaching business, at first I was really nervous, and then I've invested probably over $200,000 in my self-development. And I kid you not, I will go into like a sales course and I'm like, oh, this is stripping. Oh, this is sex work. Like I've literally learned how to be an entrepreneur through sex work.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that aspect to it. So I have to preface this. I'm not saying this as like I want to hurt your feelings. This is just what I believe this to be.
Yeah.
So when I hear that sex work has enabled you to destroy your own conscience to where you can't feel guilt anymore.
No.
So, okay, and so there are like, it has enabled me to.
Nationabu donated $100. Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault.
Like the fact that it's happening as this is happening is like
Hey, Nick, we love you.
the comedic effect is appreciated.
It's Nick's fault. It's Nick's fault.
Nasha
I
Nabu.
think that it's helped me
We
build
need a
my
pizza.
consciousness.
Yeah.
I think that it's helped me build my consciousness.
I think it's helped me build my consciousness
it's helped me expand my consciousness
and
in
become
ways that
way more empathetic
Yes.
as
Yeah.
a person.
Yes.
So
Human to human, I am much more empathetic as a human. I am much more skillful at negotiating and talking with people, relating to people.
Yeah.
And that's why the wealth management company put me as VP of business growth. It is because my prior experience in the industry, working with people and connecting with people.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
connection.
And so they
It's
trust
connection.
me.
Yeah. So I'm not saying that you are unable to connect with people. I think women do that very well, just in general.
Yeah.
Like it's Women, they move in circles where it's all about feeling that connection,
Yep.
that relationship.
Yeah.
There's an interesting thing that happens. So when you look at little like boys in the schoolyard, they'll tend to play games that have like hierarchical structures, like basketball or football. Someone is the captain, someone is the best on the court, and we go to them for like, okay, like what are we doing? So there's a winner and a loser, and there's like that disparity. So it's more about like outcomes and like the differences between each person. So women will tend to go to games that they're very much more relational. There's not a winner, not a loser. So so little girls, when they'll play like hopscotch, or
Yeah, but when you're talking about sex
so
workers, go
yeah.
ahead.
Anyway, so
'Cause sex
like I'm
workers
not
lead
saying
from
that
their
there's
masculine.
there's no like relational aspect, because obviously you're talking to somebody else. You are in the room with somebody else, but what I am discussing, there's obviously something. Now, you can make the argument that it might be societal. I would make the argument that it's something ingrained in us that is damaged by participating in sex outside of marriage.
I have a question about that
don't
too.
agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you asked the
Here,
question.
I do need it. Like
yeah.
we're
Okay.
I need to move
Yeah.
on.
Okay.
No, Brian, you do your thing.
ahead.
Yes.
Okay, so I think I was going around the table. Would you want your son to see prostitutes? And you said yes.
He did see one, yeah.
He did see one.
Responsibly.
I would
Once.
say this is when okay, let's say I had a kid, theoretically, and he was being bullied, and he in school, and he had like kind of like a chip on his shoulder or something, and he's 18, and he's like, you know what, no woman ever loved me, ever loved me. I said, you know what, let's just get this out of your way. You go down to the brothel. If he's like, I don't have any money, and that's not, I'm like,
Wait, can you scoot your mic to the edge of the table?
oh, the edge, okay.
All the way to the edge.
Like right here.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. I'd be like, you know what, birthday, I'll do it. Let's get this out of your way here, and let's get you some new energy in you. You pick one, you have a good time, you be respectful, and we're gonna move on from that, and we're gonna get you, as long as you're comfortable with it. But let's move past this, and let's focus on other things that you could be focused on, and then. What if he's a completely different person after that? He's like, oh, thank God that's over. I remember when I was younger, I was a virgin. I was very ashamed of it. And so I begged someone to take my virginity.
You had to beg?
I did.
You had to beg?
Yes. Because I was bullied a lot. So I had to beg someone to take my virginity. And when it was gone, I felt so good about myself, because it was better to be looked at as a whore than to be looked at as a loser in my
that's
book. I
deeper
felt
shadow work.
invisible. I all of a sudden, after I had had sex with this person, I was visible. People knew who I was, and I felt so much power, and I was bragging about it. Yeah, I was bragging about it because I was treated terribly before I was. When I was a virgin, I was treated really bad.
Because you were a virgin?
I just the loser. Nobody will ever touch you or be with you, and this and that. So
That's fucked up.
yeah,
There's
and
a ton of
That's
stigma.
shadow-
oh
around being an
yeah,
adult virgin.
I always said, oh my gosh, no guy will ever be with me. So then I had a friend. I begged him to take my virginity, and he did, and this weight was lifted off my shoulders, and I could move on, and all of a sudden. Next couple of years, I was real popular.
So wait, just to be clear.
Yeah.
So if you said if your son was being bullied,
If he was 18, I would
Okay.
take him to the brothel. I wouldn't be like, "Arr," like.
if he was getting bullied in general, or being bullied
If he had a
because
chip
he
on
was-
his shoulder about women, and he said like, if only a woman would touch me and love me, and he was 18, I'd be like, well, it's legal. You're 18. Birthday present.
All right, sure.
Mothers
Yeah.
are bringing virgins.
I've had
in
that too. I've
all the
to us
time.
all the time. I've had
But would
mothers
you
and
want your son?
yes, absolutely.
Okay, what
Yeah.
about you? Would you want your son to see
this-
prostitutes?
This is really, really a hard question to be answered, because my first experience, I waited for my boyfriend to take my virginity, but prior to him was another man, and he was 23, I was like 14. It wasn't a good situation. You can figure out what that is without saying the word. But personally, I believe a woman, and yes, I used to be in the sex industry, but because of my perspective and all the women that I serve at Destiny House and Dream House and all the safe houses across the country, working with people that have exited the sex industry, I would not prefer this for my son because I would want him to honor a woman in a way he wouldn't have to pay for her. And he would love her enough to marry her first and give him everything he has because he really does love her 100%. That's my take.
I think it's a hard question.
You have a son?
I have a daughter.
Daughter, okay.
Yeah.
If you had a son, would you want him to see a prostitute?
I don't think I would want him to communicate about it with me and understand his deeper intention and his deeper desire there.
Okay.
So for me, it's yes and no.
Seeing
Do you have a son?
I have goat kids.
Oh, so sorry. That's right. That's right.
Go.
They have lots of sex.
Sure. Would you want your son? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. Seeing a sex worker isn't dishonoring a woman. It's not dishonorable in any way, shape, or form. If anything, paying a woman and recognizing the value that she is bringing to the table with her experience, with her knowledge, what she is providing in that exchange has value, and then honoring that with what is regarded as being valuable within our society, which is money. That's a beautiful thing to do. He respects women enough to pay them for their labor, rather than going to a bar, getting a woman drunk, trying to take her home and trick her into having sex when she's only half sober. I would never want any child of mine taking advantage of somebody else's child that wasn't sober. I would never want somebody
Hold
to
on,
go
that's
and
a
try
bit
to
of a
get...
leap, though, because the question
No,
is...
that's how most people end up, like, oh, I'm a virgin. I guess I'm
No.
going to just go to a bar and have a one-night stand and
No,
lose
but
it.
that's a bit of a...
So
that's a bit,
many people
I'm
make
just trying to
that
understand. I'm
choice.
just trying to follow the logic here. So you're saying that if your son didn't go to see a prostitute, that he would take advantage of a drunk?
No,
Like,
I am saying I would much rather a child of mine see a sex worker than choose to lose their virginity by going to a bar and getting somebody drunk and making that choice, which when most men go, oh, I want to lose it, I don't know what to do. What do men say to other men? Oftentimes the advice is, why don't you go to a bar and buy a girl a couple of drinks? Like, have you not heard that dating advice from someone? Oh, just go to a bar and go lose it. Like...
Yeah, I mean,
What
Yeah.
about chivalry?
I've heard like guys, that's how they talk. But
Yeah, I'd rather
Where's
see
the
a
real
man
man?
pay for a
Yeah,
woman and
not-
honor her in that way by acknowledging the value of her work and compensating her fairly for it.
Also, too, if he's
So-
not planning to be with her, then it's
I
best
don't
to go
like
with the
that.
sex worker.
No, so
know.
I think like so as a man, like there have been integral things that have happened in my life because I have held myself to this standard. So I'm not going to have sex till marriage. So it automatically weeds out a lot of women because that's what a lot of women want. I mean, like most, you could probably agree with me. Most women want to have sex before marriage.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it weeds a lot of those people out. I would say there are some key character development things going on in my life that is directly impacted from me not wanting to have sex before marriage. So, so
And
let's just take it
that's
to.
great.
Also-
No,
let's
there's
just
nothing
take it-
wrong with that. That's
Let's
totally
just,
good.
yeah. So let's just take it to somebody. Maybe they're not waiting for marriage. Maybe they're just they're looking to. They're just looking.
They
to
wanna
get laid.
lose it.
Exactly. They want to lose
Yeah.
it. So I would say that there's probably some key character improvements that need to happen for that person to be for that man to be attractive to a woman. So by trying to put a Band-Aid over that problem by saying, hey, let's just go get you a sex worker and like we'll just let you be with a woman and that will hopefully fix this issue that you have. I think that's it's not a get rich quick scheme, but it's a Band-Aid for a problem that's much larger. Maybe he needs to improve himself. Maybe he needs to be more of a man. Maybe there is some character development things that need to happen.
I have a comment on that.
That will be hindered
And that's
by.
that's also the mother's responsibility.
So I think, so as a man, I think that needs to come from the father, not so much the mother,
Well,
because
the
the
mother-
father has been through those character development
I think
issues.
both.
Unless the father isn't there.
Well, so
Yeah.
he has been the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
ideally, the father's
Yeah.
there.
Ideally,
I
yeah.
think, that's a huge problem. But
Yeah.
the father should be the one speaking into their sons' lives, saying, "Okay, you're having this issue. that like you might want to try to solve this issue very quickly by going to a bar or seeing a sex worker, but there are things that you need to improve in your life to where you will be desirable to a woman.
Correct, because I do think that, like, example, if let's say he's like, I'm 18, I'm gonna go see a sex worker because I have this chip on my shoulder. Goes and sees him, and he's like, let's say he gets the whole 9 yards there, and I paid a pretty penny for whatever he did, and then all of a sudden he comes back home. Oh, I'm still unhappy and no one will ever love me. I'd be like, you know what? You just got a gift from that woman and she gave everything to you, presumably, and you're still not happy. You're the one that needs to work on yourself. I said, you just got a gift. You are ungrateful for what you get in
I
life.
agree when you say the father should be
Yeah.
a part of that in building that.
I got a
that
follow-up
character.
question here.
Yeah.
Would you want your daughter's daughter, if you had
Yes.
a daughter, if you have a daughter, to be a prostitute?
What a silly
Okay.
question.
No,
Why
this
is that
is an
a silly-
answer. I have an
Why is
answer.
that
This
a
is
silly
such
question?
a stereotypical
Why is-
question. No,
why
we
is
gotta
that-
like take a
I know.
time out here.
It's
This
always a
question
gotcha.
is a tired question that people love
not.
to ask sex workers
It's
as a
perfectly
stereotypical
reasonable
gotcha question.
It's not a gotcha
I
question.
have an answer.
Why
I
are
have an
you
answer.
asking that
Why did
question?
you not object? You didn't object to me asking the son question.
Because most people don't ask about, would you want your son to see a sex worker? No, legitimately, the majority of people don't ask, would you want your son to see a sex worker and have an elevated conversation about it. The conversation around, would you want your daughter to be a sex worker? That's a question that gets tossed around constantly. That's like asking a sex worker to do her makeup in the mirror. Everybody knows what that
One
looks like.
Motorsports donated $100. No, that is not how men talk to their sons. Men teach sons to be men and respect women and to not consort with 304s. We
Good
teach
point,
them
Greg
purity.
Warren. Good point.
Is that how much we're getting paid?
Men are needed in the home.
I know so many men in marriages and are dating materialistic women that are paying out the nose for their relationships. I know so many men in marriages and
on.
dating relationships where they are paying out the nose.
Yo, Jay
for
Butler,
it.
I think you can't send it with like a bad word or whatever. Genital herpes is not protected by condoms, and all sex workers will contract it on a long enough timeline in the industry. This is why they can't test for it in blank. You all have it. You're filthy.
I don't have it. I have
Wow.
Kaiser. Well, actually, I just
Very
switched,
belligerent.
but I
Kaiser.
don't
You
have
have
it.
a lot of
Kaiser
belligerent
insurance.
sponsors.
Kaiser
You're always
insurance.
drinking like
money.
Yeah, in California, but I switched recently.
Okay, so the question was, and you see, I mean,
I have an answer.
everything that you said does nothing to refute the question that I asked.
I'm
You
curious why you're asking it, because everybody
You're
wants to know,
curious
oh,
why I'm
your
asking it.
daughter, it's
I'm
your
the host
daughter.
of a podcast asking various questions.
But what does this have to do with our children? We are consenting adults choosing to do something with our own careers. Why not ask us about our careers and what we are doing because of sex
You
work?
just
For
not- if
example,
you
the things
refuse-
that
I
we
think
can afford to
it's a
do.
fair question to
I
ask
can
because
answer it.
I can answer
like
too.
like
could
your
answer
children
it.
are part of your
I didn't
life
want
and
to.
your
I'll answer.
your
I have a
career.
daughter.
Like, nobody wants
One
to
person
talk about
at a
their
time.
kids.
At 18.
Yeah, well,
like-
this is it's a dating talk podcast.
I know,
dating
I thought we
That
were
comes up.
generally
supposed to talk about
so
children, but
generally
I just
dating,
feel like kids
okay,
are one of those things that
so
we don't
generally
really need to
dating
keep
leads to
talking
marriage
about.
and then usually marriage leads to kids.
Not
So,
always.
Come on,
Do
let's
you
be
feel like
like
it's a gotcha question because it's most likely a no from a lot of people?